Lachlan Kennedy, 22 years old, Australian sprinter. He just ran a time no Australian man had ever run on home soil, ever, in history. And then, 24 hours later, he lined up and did the exact same thing again. How does a man with a broken back come back and make history twice in one weekend? Let's find out. Lachlan Kennedy was born on November 4th, 2003, in Brisbane, Queensland. He grew up in one of Australia's most rugby-obsessed cities, attending St. Joseph's College in Gregory Terrace, a school with a proud sporting culture. Before he ever wore spikes, he wore a rugby jersey. He was not just a fan of the sport, he was good enough to represent Australia at the junior international level in rugby union. Speed was always his weapon. Physicality was always his nature. But somewhere in his teenage years, Kennedy made a decision that would redirect everything. He walked away from rugby and committed entirely to the track. The results arrived quickly. In 2022, at 18 years old, Kennedy joined Australia's under-24 by 100-meter relay squad and helped break a 12-year-old national record, running 39.30 seconds. That same year, he competed at the World Athletics Under-20 Championships in Cali, Colombia. He was not intimidated. He was learning. In 2024, he reached the Olympics in Paris, not as a reserve, as a genuine contributor to Australia's 4x100-meter relay team that set a new Oceania record of 38.12 seconds in the French capital. He had gone from junior relay runner to Olympian in the span of 2 years. The year 2025 became Kennedy's proving ground. In January, competing in Canberra, he ran 60 meters in 6.43 seconds, erasing the previous Australian and Oceania record in the event. He did not run that time once. He ran it on the same day he had already tied the prior record. One afternoon, 2 record-level performances. 2 months later, Kennedy carried that form to the World Athletics Indoor Championships in Nanjing, China. He survived the semifinals and stood in a 60-meter world final. He ran 6.50 seconds. That was good enough for silver, just 1/100th of a second behind winner Jeremiah Azu of Great Britain. Kennedy stood on a world championship podium at 21 years old. Most sprinters spend their early careers dreaming of that moment. Kennedy was already living it. Back in Australia, he continued to build his outdoor credentials. At the Moree Plant Meet in Melbourne in March 2025, he posted a personal best of 20.26 seconds in the 2-100 meters and beat Gout, the most hyped young sprinter in the country. Then, in May, at the Kip Keino Classic in Nairobi, Kennedy ran 9.98 seconds over 100 meters. He became only the second Australian in history to legally break the 10-second barrier, joining the legendary Patrick Johnson, who had done it in Japan back in 2003. The future looked limitless. The trajectory was pointing upward at a steep angle. Then it stopped. After competing at the Prefontaine Classic, one of the most prestigious track meets in the world, Kennedy's body gave out. He had been carrying a stress fracture in his back since June 2025. Not a sore back. Not a muscle strain, a fracture, a broken vertebra in one of the most complex parts of the human body, the kind of injury that forces athletes into inactivity for months and raises genuine questions about whether the person who comes back will be the same one who left. His manager, Nick Bideau, explained the decision to withdraw him from the 2025 World Athletics Championships in Tokyo. He has been dealing with it since June, and it has not healed. It's lingering, and, unfortunately, he just can't train. He has the potential to be a contender in the coming years, so, while it's tough, no one wants to miss a World Championships. He is 21, and you can't jeopardize the future. Kennedy had targeted the 1-100 meters and a spot in Australia's relay squad for Tokyo. He had earned both. The injury stripped them away. He posted on social media, "It's with a heavy heart I have to announce that I will not be competing at this year's World Championships in Tokyo due to a progressing injury. Grateful for the year and the support I've received, I wouldn't change a thing. I'll use this time to heal, grow, and come back stronger than ever." He sat out for months. He watched the championships from the outside. The world moved on without him. He quietly began the long process of rebuilding. When Kennedy came back in 2026, he did it without drama. He won at the Hobart Track Classic. He returned to the Moree Plant Meet in Melbourne and posted 10.03 seconds over 100 meters, defeating Gout again in the 2-100 meters. These were strong performances. They were also understated ones. Nobody fully registered what he was building toward. When Kennedy arrived at the 2026 Australian Athletics Championships in Sydney, He told reporters this was just his second 100-meter race of the year. He framed everything as a process, a stepping stone. He spoke calmly in his pre-competition interview, saying his goal was simply to hit the start like I normally do, hit top speed, and just try and maintain it. He kept his cards close. He gave nothing away. He was not just testing himself. He was ready. April 10th, 2026. The Sydney Olympic Park Athletics Center. The stadium lights burning above a Friday night crowd. Kennedy stepped into the blocks for his 100-meter heat alongside fellow Australian sprinters who had no idea what was about to happen. The starting gun fired. Kennedy was gone, out of the blocks cleanly, through the middle of the race with controlled power. And then, in the final 40 meters, he stretched away from the field. He crossed the line and looked up. 9.96 seconds. Wind, positive 0.2 meters per second. Legal, official, historic. Lachlan Kennedy had become the first Australian man to break 10 seconds on home soil in an official meet. Every previous Australian sub-10 had happened overseas or had been wind-assisted and never ratified. Kennedy delivered this unprecedented milestone right in his own backyard. The sudden announcement echoed around the entire stadium, and the ecstatic crowd understood immediately exactly what they had just witnessed. "I'm honored to be the first to do it," he told reporters. "No one can ever take that away from you. I'm sure we'll have more in the future." Then he added, "Honestly, I didn't even really expect it. This is still only my second 100. I think I have so much more to give. It just felt easy." 24 hours later, Kennedy came back and did it again. In the 100-meter final on April 11th, he clocked 9.96 seconds for the second time in as many days, this time with a wind reading of positive 0.5 meters per second. Defending national champion Rohan Browning got out fast. Joshua Azu pushed hard early. Neither could stay with Kennedy in the back half. He stretched away from both men as if the rest of the field was running a different race. Azu finished second in 10.16. Browning took third in 10.19. The gap was not close. Kennedy had broken 10 seconds 3 times in his career, twice in the same championship, and won his first Australian national title. It was the championship record at Sydney Olympic Park. It was the standard that would now define every sprint final in the country. "It is such a relief to be able to finally say I'm national champ," he said. "I feel like I should have had it last year. Didn't run my best race, but was able to come here and handle business, get the win, and run a pretty good time while I'm at it. It's the standard I've set now, so hopefully I can go a bit quicker next time and see where it takes me." Patrick Johnson's Australian national record of 9.93 seconds has stood since 2003. It was set in Japan over 2 decades ago, before social media existed and before Kennedy had even started school. Kennedy is now 0.03 of a second away.